Oh dear, right, other things, right, let's go. BlizzCon, things going on, actually. Warcraft, while it may not have the most floor space, World of Warcraft, actually has got the most announcements at BlizzCon 2023, which is definitely good, because that's the one that, well, at least I care about the most, and I imagine you guys do as well. So, basically somebody said about the floor plan, hey, why does WoW look kind of small? You can see that World of Warcraft is also being shared with Warcraft Rumble and Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. But Ybarra did say, it's just the way the graphic is. I get your point. Warcraft and WoW have the most news this year. We're excited.
Yeah, I mean, that is... I guess you can see why they'd want to do it that way to evenly split it, make it nice, but that is...
There's also the Dark Moon area.
That's a bigger haul, like...
Yeah.
Even if you take out the Dark Moon stuff, that is literally a bigger haul than these. If this is in any way accurate and not just literally some artist's interpretation. Because obviously it doesn't have to be accurate. It's a rough floor plan. Because I don't think the Portal Pass Lounge in Theatre really looks like that.
Wow, you're like,
that would be
Portal Pass Lounge is the biggest part of BlizzCon.
Yeah, also, if you want to go to the Overwatch World Cup from the Overwatch, you have to jump really far.
So, yeah, Warcraft's gonna have the most. What does this mean? Will we see some sort of TV, film thing, live action, will be animated? Who knows? I don't think live action. I don't think it would adapt as well as... I say as well as The Witcher. The Witcher obviously should adapt well, but The Witcher obviously is being ran by total goddamn morons.
Yeah.
I love it. They're always like, no! What's she called? Lauren something, and her creative people are like, they have a vision! And then you look at what they do with Blood Origin. Not Blood Origin. Oh, the one with Michelle Yeoh in it. We're like, here they are. Purely their own thing. No mean, nasty Henry Cavill involved. And it's absolute dog shit. It's so funny.
Such is the way of things, of course.
Such is the way of things, indeed. Anyway, on this, basically, yeah, who knows? Now, Classic, what do we think? Because they did say, play upcoming content for Dragonflight and Classic. What will that upcoming content be for Classic? Will it be Cata Classic, Classic Plus, a new season of something? What do you think? Will it be... Okay, really the only one that matters in my view is Classic Plus. I think the deal with Classic, I pretty much know for a fact that Classic launched to... basically, Classic was driving more WoW subs than Modern was whenever it originally launched. And as for right now, I do not know what those numbers are. However, you certainly look at Twitch. Man, I mean, I think it helps that hardcore is more watchable. It has more of a story, more drama to it. But like hardcore, from what I can tell, is dominating Twitch, not modern. Which, of course, it would be because it's the new thing, but also modern's just less interesting to watch.
By such a margin, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of crazy where hardcore is, despite the fact that they seemed fairly sluggish to actually get to the point after the add-on got popularity, they definitely weren't anywhere near as fast as, in an ideal world they would be. But somehow it seems that even with that lag, they managed to recapture lightning in a bottle in a way. Because the amount of people I've seen play it, and there's a friend of mine who he hit 60 and then stopped playing because he died and was like, oh, it's over now. It's over. Fantastic. But it was like full on. I have not seen him play a video game like that since we played World of Warcraft together back when we were like teenagers. Like that was that vibe of Classic, the world gameplay matters, social dynamics matter in a way. That stuff is absolutely incredible. He died in game. He lost his character. That's what. Jesus. Yeah, I thought that was implied, but just to be sure, Shep. But yeah, like it is full on like lightning in the bottle, and he's like he played something like 12 days played over a month.
My God!
I was just like, that was unbelievably incredible. That was fantastic, and I have to go do something else now because it's really.
Is that the one who rhymes with Ricky D?
It is, yes. It is, yeah. So like that
Holy
was
shit!
Yeah,
our boy Ricky got hooked.
So completely incredible. Like it's good. It's good.
Holy shit!
It's such a niche of gameplay, I think, that doesn't really exist in the same way that I've seen. Like almost obviously, there's an awful lot of other games that have like that survivally, that hardcore element to it, but World of Warcraft's a different beast. And so is Classic. The gameplay systems were like insane. completely crazy, and it just worked. So I could see why it would be doing substantially more numbers in a bunch of ways. As to whether that will be like consistent forever, because again, it's another version of, well, here's Classic's content entirely. Is there another evolution of that gameplay model?
Yeah, because they can't just be like, okay, now it's time for the Burning Crusade hardcore, and then it's time for Wrath of the Lich King hardcore, and everyone falls asleep.
It's like they could do that, but it wouldn't have the same energy because the gameplay systems change and make hardcore as a concept substantially less friendly.
There's a server called Turtle WoW,
So there is.
which is basically a fan-made post-vanilla expansion that's saying, what if we didn't do the Dark Portal, and instead other things happened? Like that's an example of like, yes, this is vanilla, but there is a patch, 1.13?
Well, yeah, that's
Was 1.11, 1.12 the final patch?
1.12 is the final. 1.13 is the new patch for Classic.
Okay, so then it's basically saying, here's patch 1.14. Booty Bay bollocks. And a bunch of, I don't know, pirate stuff happens. Who knows?
Actually, or did you just make it up entirely?
I just made that up entirely.
Okay.
Point being, you could just continue those patches on, just adding bits of content here and there. The questions, though, are like, what are the extensibility of those game systems? How long can you just keep on increasing gear, item levels? How do we manage to do any? Oh, hardcore's already 1.14. Interesting. How do they do that? They can add maybe more battlegrounds, but how does that translate into long-term gameplay? Then you think about old school RuneScape, and the thing about OSRS is that it is a far more sandbox-like game. World of Warcraft is a theme park. So do they just keep on, cramming more rides into the Magic Kingdom, or do they decide to have more sandboxy elements to Classic? And if you think about like a lot of the gameplay dynamics of hardcore to me makes it feel more like a sandbox than a theme park for sure.
Oh, that's the entire point of hardcore is the added danger means that the approach you take is so much more interesting and so much more different. A Classic Plus seems like it's very, very challenging to do, and it would need to be very experimental to succeed, which is, I'm not entirely sure if I expect a Classic Plus out of it, but at the same time, if they go, here's Cata Classic, if they do a Cata Classic, I would definitely expect it to be
ZZZZZ.
Exactly, but also as a part of either, well, there's two pathways. The pathway is split, like they've been doing with experimental gameplay and actual like theme park gameplay. They could just go, okay, well, here's Classic, Cata Classic, and then here's Classic, whatever we think of, whatever people are doing. So stuff like that. What does he mean with ZZZ? He means sleepy. He means boring, basically.
I just don't think it would excite people.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
People think of, the classic Warcraft experience, such as when the world blew up and got revamped. Yeah. It's like, this is just a fundamental emotional thing there, I think.
Yeah, that's too much building up the player base. Yeah, still solo. That's one of the problems where I think Cata Classic would be easy enough for them to do, not particularly labor intensive, not particularly, obviously there's a load of bug fixing and some changes to do. But I imagine that would be like, yeah, we'll just do whatever we fancy in that sense. And that'll keep people happy enough. But the real meat is in that experimental gameplay team, in that what community trends are we seeing? How can we do hardcore? How can we expand on hardcore? How can we expand on that gameplay modality and stuff like that? Because I even imagine their, what do you call it?
You're very true Night Stalker.
Oh, big time. Yeah, no content. Yeah,
I think molten front. That's it.
Yeah. So I imagine that, what was I going to say? Yeah, I imagine that they have the survival game team as well, looking very closely at hardcore and going, what is this lightning in a bottle? What is this thing that there's an appetite for in the market that people are super hungry for? How can we actually capture that in a way?
10 years later, the unannounced survival game is still in development.
Yeah, exactly. Or at the current rate the industry's going is cancelled. But have we discussed 115 in the Brang Birmingham hinting it was something bigger after it was initially thought to be hardcore, but now we're still seeing new builds showing up a few weeks prior to BlizzCon. So interesting. I didn't think about that very much, but I do remember seeing a lot of people talk about that. So there's definitely something big for Classic that's not Cata Classic. That is almost certainly the case. It's just a matter of, is it a new experiment? Is it hardcore brought forward in a different way? Is it riffing on that more, or is there something content based?
I guess if you're the turbo money person, and you're, you'd almost look at this and say, you're doing Classic Plus. I'm sorry, I don't care about any of the things you're worried about. Figure it out. Like, that's almost, if you're thinking like, how is Classic something that is a long-term evergreen game that people will keep on playing, that, won't just end up in us having to do Season of Mastery, Season of Hardcore, Season of Hardcore Mastery, Season of this, Season of that. It's obviously Cata Plus.
Yeah, of course.
And with the lore, it's fine. Figure it out.
There's
a lot of Azeroth. There are, in fact, loads of stories that, they can tell, they can fill out that period in the game's time.
I think that's where there's a little bit of throwing caution to the wind, I think, which is just, there's a lot of problems, but just not even figured out like, we'll delegate to you, do the hard work, but like, just don't be afraid. Do not be afraid. Trust whatever creative instinct is there and make it.
Do Plunder Isle. Put Plunder Isle in the game. Tie that into Booty Bay and, all of that stuff, all those reputations, all those factions. Done. Content. Go to Undermine. Before Cataclysm happens. Have Goblin shit happen. There we go. Done. Content.
And then just make sure it's abundantly clear that it's a completely separate canon. And everyone goes, yeah, it's a separate canon, deal with it. Because otherwise...
say that this is Tales that we never saw. Because...
Yeah, I mean, the problem is Tales we never saw implies that it's still canon. And it's still canon in the larger World of Warcraft universe. And that gets a bit weird.
I think there's a way to do that would work.
I mean, there is, but I feel like I would... this is me falling back into kind of like the lower detailed kind of person I often, unfortunately, end up being. But I feel like that would probably really gimp quite a lot of the creative direction if the teams have to collaborate, because they can barely even collaborate with their own team half the time, it seems. Hello, lore books, rewriting things, which is a little bit weird, but yeah.
There you go. Or just flat, just go alternate timeline, done.
Yeah, something like that. Even just this is a just go the like FF14, right, and be like, this is just some bullshit, never happened. This is some stories, they're not real, but they're cool. Have fun with them. Because obviously FF14 does that with its Savage Raids and harder difficulties, where it's literally an in-game character saying, oh yeah, what if that was worse and harder? And then having you imagine it, which I think is good.